So guys, this was the moment Mr. Fashola was asked about the so many controversies around Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Take a look at his response.
Why is the man you were his chief of staff, he has so much of controversy around him. And I'm hoping that you might be able to clear the air. There are controversies about his age, his true age, controversies about his true educational status, controversy about his name. In fact, there are controversies about whether or not he has dual citizenship, controversies about his past life in the United States. Can you clear the air about this man?
I think that makes it the more interesting. And I think those issues have been ventilated sufficiently. You know what the Nigerian people have decided? Those issues don't matter. That's what they have said by this vote. And in making that choice, the only thing I can say...
So guys, did you see him try to dodge that question? And he went further to say that the Nigerian people have decided that those questions do not count, and that's why they voted for him. Let's continue.
But does he really have a dual citizenship?
That's the Ashwaju story now. And, so the more difficult it gets, the more it brings out the best in him. And for me, I think that now that all of these hurdles have been surmounted, maybe there's a divine purpose to it. Maybe perhaps, just perhaps, this is where Nigeria begins to turn in the most positive way forever.
So guys, did you still hear him dodge this particular question again? Initially, he was asked why the controversies around your boss. He dodged it. And again, he was asked, does he really has a dual citizenship? He still dodged it. So guys, you can see the kind of politicians we are dealing with in Nigeria. Honestly, we need to keep fighting for a new Nigeria. We need a new Nigeria. We need people that are very transparent. We need people that can stick to their words. We need people that are not having things to hide. We need people that will be plain to the Nigerian people. When you are asked a simple question, you go ahead to answer it. That is what Nigerians are looking for. Honestly, this was an interesting interview session. He was also asked the whereabouts of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let's get his response.
Can I ask, where is Mr. Tinubu?
He's outside the country, he's outside Nigeria, specifically where I don't know. I haven't called him since we finished our work, so...
Is he all right?
No, I lie.
So guys, I'm going to allow you watch this interview. It was an interesting interview session with Fashola, and I'm hoping that you are going to enjoy. So just grab a cup of coffee, relax, and take your time to digest this video. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.
Is the Minister of Works and Housing, the former governor of Lagos State and the senior advocate of Nigeria, Babatunde Fashola, is perceived as one of the right-hand man of Bola Tinubu, the president-elect and the candidate of the APC in the concluded 2023 presidential election. In fact, he is seen as one of the super ministers of the Buhari government. Before the election, that is the presidential election, he was on the program. He told me that the APC candidate and his principal, Bola Tinubu, will win the poll. He gave his analysis at the time of the situation. He felt favored the candidate Bola Tinubu at the time. And a declaration of Mr. Bola Tinubu, I've seen a lot of agitation, huge agitations and opposition on the president-elect's victory. I thought we would bring Mr. Fashola back on the program when he made some categorical statement, and he thought that his analyses were watertight. Some of the issues raised on the aftermath of the election now will get our attention tonight on the program. And perhaps some of Mr. Fashola's team had also supplied me with some information that might be helpful for Mr. Fashola's analysis tonight. I have joining me, he's live with us, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, SAN, Minister of Works and Housing. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Good evening to our viewers, and good evening to you. And thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much. Just about 40 days before you guys leave office. How does it feel?
Well, we're winding down, sending in performance reports to the Transition Planning Committee. So hopefully the burden is getting lighter, and we're looking forward to the finish line.
Are you like your principal who said he can't wait to leave office?
Well, after 21 years, I think that there must be a time when you say, hey, peace at last.
Well, just before the peace
and you need younger, fresher minds, really.
Indeed, you are not
run this race now.
You are not any younger than you were when you were governor of Lagos State.
Well, before then, I was chief of staff. I started at 39. I'm going to be 60 this year. So
wow.
I tell young people it's time to push us away.
Let's see how that plays out. It's going to be part of the conversation that we'll be having tonight. But I want us to start with the election issues before we now go into your office as the Minister of Works and a few issues here and there. And those who are experiencing traffic on the Lagos-Ibadan expressway are definitely looking out for how that will end, and perhaps maybe a magic wand you might swing on the program tonight that will solve it. But let's begin with the election. You were very categorical. You thought that Bola Tinubu was going to win. Some said that you were so sure because the APC had the rigging plan. Was it?
We had a preparation plan. I challenge our opponents to show me what they did with regards to preparation. I think the Nigerian public saw some snippets of what our situation room looked like. Which other party had that kind of situation room? So we had it in 2015, we had it in 2019. I headed it in 2019, and I had the privilege to head it again in 2023. But behind what I headed was a lot of young people, and it was driven by young people. So they just pushed me in front as the leader, go and take the credit. But all of the work was done by young people, using data, using maps, following up, calling agents, training agents. We trained 2,000 agents. 2,000 agents, because we couldn't train 176,846 agents to man all the polling units. So we trained 2,000 agents from all the states, and we sent them back to the states to go and do training to the agents who were deployed state by state. So, and this is instructive. Very, very instructive.
So perhaps it's a video that came out from your team to show that the day that your Bola Tinubu and the rest of the leaders of the party came forward, and perhaps that was the end of their training because listening and watching the video showed that there was some kind of conclusion of training.
Oh, yes.
So these guys were basically those guys who worked under the monitoring and what unit?
That's only just part of it. That's only just part of it. So we then, the people who trained them showed them the difference between the 2010 Electoral Act and what they will see in 2022. So these were the guys, isn't it? Precisely, that was the training.
What were their roles?
These are people who will act as agents to senators, to House of Rep members, to the presidential candidate himself. But only 2,000 of them were picked from various interest groups across the states. Their responsibility was to go back to their states and train all the others.
How long did it take you to train them?
It was a 2-day training exercise, essentially. It's a crash course. And they go back with materials, training materials, translated in the various languages.
And so your party did it?
We've done this before. So this was what young people did. Some of them came from the United States. They left their work to come and work in this campaign. So that was the beginning. Because on election day, those are the only people at the polling stations you can talk to. Apart from that, so we had a line of sight. So as they went back and they started the training, the governors took ownership, senators took ownership, we were talking to them. And so on election day, if they had any problem, if there was cheating, if there was a problem, equipment was delayed, we had different groups working with established agencies. These were the people who gave us information what was going on. These were the people who sent us results of each of the polling stations. So when I was in the situation room, one photograph that came out in the evening, we knew our result, just as we knew in 2019. So you will also see that there was a report by Yaga, because ahead of the election, there was a beaver simulation held by INEC. They invited all parties. If you go and look at Yaga's report of attendance, you will see that it is consistent with the way the parties turned out in the election. APC had the largest representation at that mock exercise. And it was part of the preparation by INEC for the results. So preparation. Election is big business. And it is a very, very serious process. There is a process of certifying election managers in the United States. That's how big the business is. I know only one certified election manager in Nigeria. His name is Fuad Oki. I worked with him when I was candidate in 2006. And I learned a lot from him. And he was also involved in this campaign. So there are a lot of people who are now showing interest.
So you had your strategy.
There was a plan.
Perhaps that was the confidence that came out when you were, because a lot of people felt, look, there is only one reason why Fashola can be this confident about their winning when you came on the show. Was that the APC had it up planned, because the feeling out there was that your party has not done enough to deserve a win.
That's what you think.
Why? Those are the reactions.
So let me also tell you, I was optimistic, and those were the words I used, if you play back those tapes, and I did not underrate any opponent. This is a competitive engagement. So, and I'm a sportsman, I don't underrate any opponent, but I prepare very hard. And our team prepared, our party prepared. The party chairman, the national secretary, members of the national were at that session. That's how seriously they took it. The candidate and his running mate were there. The woman leader was there. So they knew its importance. State chairmen from the various states were there. Governors El Rufai, Lalong, and a few others were there. This is the foundation of every election, your agents. But quite aside from that, I made some assertions here, and I said that politics was a game of numbers, but numbers have equations, arithmetic equations, addition and multiplication. APC was adding and multiplying.
What do you mean by that?
Some PDP governors, Cross River, Ebonyi, initially Zamfara, had come to join APC. PDP was dividing and subtracting. So the major contenders against us in this election, NMPP, PDP, Labour Party, their candidates were in the same party in 2019. They lost by almost 4 million votes. 3.9 something. So having now divided that inadequate, insufficient ticket into three, how was it going to add up into an electoral victory? So they handed away the presidential ticket by dividing their powers. Not only did they divide, they now subtracted with the G5 governors. So it was bad mathematics. And I made that point here.
Yeah. There are those who are of the view that APC was understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I also learned that you did internal polling in your party.
Precisely.
But you didn't make them public.
No.
Most of which showed that you were going to lose the election.
No.
Was that the case?
We have never published any poll. And I have been polling elections since 2002, when I was chief of staff. Actually, you introduced me to polling in 2002, when he was running his own re-election. That's when I was introduced to polling elections in Nigeria. And since then, not only do we poll elections, we poll for policy decisions in governance. And it was a tool that I used a lot when I was governor. What do the people think? And so, and I came here, and I remember I said to you that all of the polls that had a sample size of 1,000 people, that showed 55 or 50% undecided, not willing to participate, at the time they were either badly conducted polls or they were self-serving polls, especially also when you looked at the methodology. But more importantly, I made the point at the time that people had decided, and that the number of undecided were very, very minimal. So our polls showed in January that we were 10 points ahead. Our polls showed in January that we were 23, we had reached 25% in 23 states out of the 25 we were targeting. And it also showed us states where we were 10, 15, 20%, and states where we considered the battleground states where we were going to target. And in the end, I think we got 29 states. So there was a method to all of what was going on.
And where, I mean, the assertion and where the opposition said, look, where you knew you were going to lose, you introduced intimidation. And you didn't allow voters to come out.
So we knew, for example, that we were going to lose in certain states, and I'm not going to be helpful to the opposition now. And you see, again, some of the things we will learn as we go on, as our democracy evolves, and as the process gets tighter. There are states where you know that you are not going to win. You have never won there. Why are you spending money there? And that is what some more sophisticated democracies do. They just say, hey, I'm packing my bag out of here. I'm going to a state where they are waiting for me. So you knew the states that were going to flip. You knew the states that were not ready to flip. You knew the states that have historically not voted for you. Why are you wasting your time there? And you know the states where they like you. So your problem there is get out the votes. We call it GOTV. Get out the votes. So we concentrated on the GOTV states. And it turned out to be exactly what we predicted would happen.
But the flip side of that is that, would you say that your candidate was not loved in Lagos? Your candidate lost in his home?
Yes, you see, again, in some cases, you get blindsided.
So you were blindsided in Lagos?
We were blindsided in Lagos because the opposition turned out their voters there, and you also saw that a party that had been competitive for 24 years, the Umbrella Party, suddenly disappeared. It showed that their support base has shifted.
So Labour Party's
they just disappeared.
Labour Party's victory in Lagos surprised the APC.
Yeah, it blindsided us, without a doubt.
They thought that the Labour Party has posited that they won Lagos by more than the margin in which they won, but that the votes were not exactly the true picture of things.
Well, that is a matter that has been submitted, I believe, to the tribunal, and I'm not going to make any comment at all about matters in dispute here. I'm not going to even try. But the point to make is to make the acknowledgement that they turned out their voters, and in the subsequent gubernatorial election, you saw that we turned out our voters, and people didn't turn out to vote. That's all.
That's highly disputed also. Well, because of the kind of violence and
I know what happened in my polling unit in the presidential election,
and the alleged intimidation of voters that came up there
by a smaller margin, and the margin was larger in the gubernatorial election. And my polling unit was one of the most covered polling units in terms of press corps and press presence, and not one iota of violence was recorded in my polling unit.
But you know that there were a lot of violence in Lagos. Well, what has been now being popular as voter, Lagos was the headquarters of voter intimidation and tribal and religious ethnic division in that election.
So let's take them one by one. In terms of violence, unfortunately, one incident of violence in any election in my country does not cover us in glory. One, wherever it may be. But that said, when you look at the incidents of violence, the number of polling units that were disrupted, they pale into insignificance compared to what you have seen in elections in the past. This was the incident. This was the election that had the least reported incidents of violence. And this is data. It's not me expressing my opinion.
Because
that's one.
I'm not privy to what the data you're talking about.
No, we have the data. You see, I headed the election planning and monitoring directorate. So it's not only this election's results. We are the last directorate to shut down because we are going to report to the party what happened, the collation of all the work that all directorates did. We've written our report as we did in 2019. Our report was titled 49 in 2019. This year's report is titled Delivering the Win. So the report is ready. So it's data-based. So I'm coming here just to tell you data what happened. So, but that's as far as numbers go. So we compare year by year. Who were the voters who were with us in 2-3 election cycles before? Have they moved? Have they stayed with us? If they have moved, why did we lose them? This is what we do. Okay? Now, and who are the voters who have just joined us, and why have they joined us? Because they translate ultimately to government policy. So people might be surprised, but there are a lot of people. I tell people that people who drive across our roads, for example, experience the difference in those roads. They will vote for us. They are the construction companies and their workers, the vendors, the subcontractors, the people impacted by Buhari's agri program, the people impacted by a digital economy program, where broadband costs have dropped significantly over the last, compared to 10 years ago. They will vote for us. There are people we haven't reached. They may not vote for us. But in the totality, you will see what has happened. Now, let me go to ethnic and all of this. You see, there is a gaining currency of identity politics globally. And nobody should start trying to hide behind a finger. There's identity politics now all over the world. So people vote and are impacted in making a choice by so many items of stimulus. And it may be my identity, it may be my faith, it may be how you cut your hair, it may be how you wear your tie, it may be how you speak. So many things influence the voter. So you can't wish those things away. But as I've always said, you know my position about religion is a personal thing. Keep it out of the public space. It's your relationship with God. And let's talk about policies, programs, and all of that.
Mr. Fashola, are you worried and perhaps disappointed in a Lagos that you governed for 8 years, that there was an election that some people are being referred to as aliens and non-indigens and non-indigens of Lagos, and therefore shut out or not allowed to vote? These allegations, if confirmed and based on the report and what we covered and we saw on the ground, how disappointed are you about that scenario in Lagos State?
I have told you before that the elections that I love to see are elections that are carnivals, that are festival of ideas, debates, and our colors. Those are the elections I love to see. We saw some of them in the primaries of the different parties. We saw you were there, your crew was there, and we need to see more of that. We need to see more rigor, more intellectualism, more people focus about what I offer and what you offer. So those are the things I am interested in talking about. So, and that was why the things that interested me, the campaign I was making at the time was, look, Asiwaju has done this, Asiwaju has done that in Lagos. How many states have copied it? We found that about 14 states have copied LASMA, set up their own type. We found about 10 states had copied Office of Public Defender. We found that about 15 states had copied LASA. And I made the argument that, look, if states are copying, opposition and APC are copying this man's idea from Lagos, why don't you give him the opportunity to run at the center and let's see how far he can go? Those are the kind of debates I want to see.
But about Lagos, are you disappointed about what happened in the governorship election?
Well, there was color and there was some
politics.
color, there was some color and there was some festival, and there were reports that are not too savory about events that happened, but I wasn't in those spaces, and therefore I can't comment. And I've told you, for example,
worried about?
I've told you, for example, what happened in my polling unit. You know, election day is what you see that you can really account for. You know, there's a question you guys ask, or journalists generally ask me on election day, what is your feeling about the election after I've just voted? And I tell you, I can only tell you about what I experienced here. I don't know what's happening in other places.
I mean, I'm worried about the implication of this scenario that played out in the election. We saw what happened in 2015 also in Lagos, and the implications of that on businesses, on commerce, on the peaceful living of Lagosians. The consequence of what happened in that election, are you worried in a Lagos that you ruled for 8 years?
I think that we are too joined at the hip to allow disagreements over elections to fester beyond elections. There are too many places where we are connected. I tell people, for example, that if you are talking ethnic issues, my first cousin is Louis Ganiu Okafo, and I have another cousin, Shola Okeke, God bless her soul. So which one of them do I dislike? So, and I think that some of the rhetoric went in the wrong way, and I think everybody should wear the trouser of adults in the room now and bring everybody back to it. And I think that healing is already taking place, and tempers are coming down. Sometimes we can be extreme when there is competition, but I think as it goes on, maturity will come in, and I think that you members of the press have a duty to play in shutting down very, very extreme rhetoric whenever it happens. You must do that so that you bring people back to tolerable levels of debate and conversations.
By the way, can I ask, where is Mr. Tinubu?
He's outside the country, he's outside Nigeria, specifically where I don't know. I haven't called him since we finished our work, so...
Is he all right?
No, I lie. I spoke to him about a week ago. He was in France.
Okay. Is he all right?
Of course
medically?
He is. Of course he is. Come on.
No. I'm asking because these are some of the questions that, you know, I mean, we reflect what is happening.
Let's go there. So since 2002, when he hurt his back, almost every time he has traveled, opposition has said he has died, but he still comes back alive. He'll be back soon.
But I'm not sure they said he has died this time around. They're just worried.
He's fine.
They said, look, is he there on a vacation to rest or something?
I believe that he's taking some time out. He needs it. He ran, I think, the longest, the fiercest campaign. He ran, his primaries was the most contested. After the primaries, he went around making peace with all those who were successful against him. After that, he was busy involved in planning the re-election. And since then, he's just ran this marathon like a sprint. And I think that he deserves...
You know what some Nigerians have been saying? They've suggested to him about 3 or 4 places that he could have gone to rest, since now he's now the president-elect. Yankari Game Reserve,
yes.
Ikogosi, Calabar. These are very beautiful places. Now we have a president-elect who has chosen to go to France to go and rest. So Nigeria is not enough to rest. These are some of the questions.
I am conjecturing that is what he went to do, but the Bola Tinubu, I think I know, president-elect, will also be doing some networking. There is no idle moment in his life. And he overworks himself and overworks his mind. I know that he'll be doing a lot of networking, meeting people, planning ahead, building relationships that might be useful for his government and for Nigeria internationally, and he's a highly connected person.
So you've said that Mr. Tinubu is very okay medically. So you've told Nigerians that. So you were his chief of staff. Would you be playing a similar role in his government?
Well, unlikely. I don't think so. Look, and I think that...
Does your name have come up?
Yes. You see, I think that it's a good point you raise, and, you know, I think that it is extremely ridiculous, and I say this without apology, to begin to choose offices for the nation that represents the largest black race in the world on social media. It ridicules us, and we should stop it. I think we have elected a president. Let us wait for him to be sworn in, and let us respect the privilege that he has and the prerogative he has to constitute his team. I think no serious nation does what some rascals are doing on social media, saying this one is this, that one is that, picking ministers. I mean, we just saw 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, President Biden elected, and I don't think this farce, if you like, on social media was going on in that country, permutating offices, and I think it should stop. We should stop ridiculing this country.
You don't think it's a social engagement?
I don't
based on the interest of the people?
I don't think so. Not some of the things that I've seen. I think it's extremely ridiculous.
Or you will not be playing such a role?
I think it's extremely ridiculous. Look, and you can't begin to even contemplate what the president-elect and soon-to-be sworn-in president would do. And I think we should just wait for what will happen when he makes his decision. And I think that is the appropriate and dignified thing to do.
Let me ask you. You are someone who, by privilege, worked closely with him. You basically controlled his schedule at some point when he was governor. So you have also some privilege.
Okay, so I was his chief of staff for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
I took over from Lai Mohammed. And in terms of controlling Asiwaju's schedule, that was a stretch, that was a tough ask, because he has day and night schedules. So, and for those who are going to work with him, let me warn them, he's very nocturnal. I hope he changes. So he will wake you up at night. He does his best work in the dead of the night. Unless you can push back and claim your space at night, he will encroach it. He's very, very detailed. He micromanages.
More than President Buhari.
So, more than President Buhari. So let me, I was speaking to somebody and I said, imagine that there are 2 football coaches. So President Buhari is the type of president, is the type of football coach, quote and unquote, that will prepare his team and then go and sit in the coach's dugout and watch them play for 90 minutes. He trusts them to do his work and believes that there's nothing he can do. Asiwaju will be that kind of coach, playing the game with them in the good
like
coaches.
Like an Jose Mourinho.
You got it. So those are the two. Those are the 2 differences that you see between them.
Let me hope that you're going
Both
to be
prepare.
able to, yeah.
One delegates completely. One delegates and stays with you. And each one has his strength. Like in 8 years, President Buhari hasn't interfered in my ministry. Never.
And he trusted you.
I believe so.
Okay. Let me see if you can help us out with some information. Why is the man you were his chief of staff? He has so much of controversy around him, and I'm hoping that you might be able to clear the air. There are controversies about his age, his true age, controversies about his true educational status, controversy about his name. In fact, there are controversies about whether or not he has dual citizenship, controversies about his past life in the United States. Can you clear the air about this man?
I think that makes it the more interesting. And I think those issues have been ventilated sufficiently. You know what the Nigerian people have decided? Those issues don't matter. That's what they have said by this vote. And in making that choice, the only thing I can say to you is that every time it got more difficult, I used to tell people this was his path to success. There was no easy way. There's no easy day for him. The more difficult it gets, then you can be sure it's Asiwaju's. And I think that for somebody who has faced all of these obstacles, I keep referring to when he was... I remember when he wanted to be governor. You may or may not recall, for 3 days after the primaries, we couldn't find the state party chairman, the returning officer for the election. And Lagos was in suspense for 3 days until they found the returning officer. And that's the Asiwaju story.
But does he really have a dual citizenship?
That's the Asiwaju story now. And, so the more difficult it gets, the more it brings out the best in him. And for me, I think that now that all of these hurdles have been surmounted, maybe there's a divine purpose to it. Maybe perhaps, just perhaps, this is where Nigeria begins to turn in the most positive way forever. Because sometimes this is just what it takes. Because governance is not about sainthood. It is about efficiency. It is about performance. It is about delivery.
So Bola Tinubu is not a saint?
I am not. I doubt that you are.
No, I am not a saint. I mean, so, if you're a saint, you should be in heaven by now.
At the end of the day,
for anybody that will be Nigeria's president, issues of character, issue of consistency in the person's life. Why does he have so much controversy? And the third time I'm asking, does he have a dual citizenship?
Character is important. Character is relevant. You know, I tell people, when you read the story about Abraham Lincoln, and how he got the bill that ended slavery passed. If you read the process, you will not take the result. Go and read it. So, but it was about doing a good thing at the time, and I'm not saying anything, so nobody should read innuendos to what I'm saying. But all I'm trying to say is that governance is about getting the results. The process is important.
No matter who the person is.
The process can be important. Mm-hmm. Let me put it that way. But sometimes the people you impact, and there is a level of integrity beyond which you should never compromise anyway. So those are issues that are settled because they are value issues. Societies are built on them. So I should not be misunderstood. But again, you must understand that we must not be looking for saints. So all of the accusations that have been leveled against him have been either unproven or there was no evidence offered in support of them. But they have run along for a while. I know one of them.
Which is?
So they said that he owned the Oriental Hotel.
Does he?
He doesn't. You know, when that story broke, Dele Alake, his
commissioner
image maker then went to him and said, look, boss, this story is making the rounds. I should go and deny it. He said, no, they're wishing me well. Don't deny it. I was there. And the story has gained a life.
Does he have a stake?
No, there was no stake. The place was a swamp. The owners of Oriental Hotel, according to the story, were the people who used to own, I think, Golden Crown on Ikorodu Road, and they wanted to relocate. The whole of that Uzumbamba was a refuse dump, including the place where Jim Movia built Civic Center. I was in government when they gave it to him. We used to recover dead bodies there. So it was like, build something there so that we can protect, and that was how they came along.
So what about the issue of dual citizenship? This is the fourth time I'm asking.
Dual citizenship. I know he carries a Nigerian passport. I don't know about dual citizenship. I know he resided abroad when he went on exile. I don't know if they gave him American citizen there. What does that have to do with the results of the election? And wait a minute.
Because by time,
whilst we are going there, the last time I checked, I think that Nigeria's constitution allows you to have dual citizenship, doesn't it?
As a president, you need to recheck the constitution in respect of being a president.
No, it's place of battle. It's place of battle. If you were born to Nigerian parents, I think that I will check that, but I doubt that the Nigerian constitution makes it makes you disentitled if you have dual citizenship, because the constitution allows you to have dual citizenship.
I've not gone into the works and housing, and I'm really running out of time.
Because you are pressing very, very tenuous grounds.
Well, you are dodging away from it.
No, I'm not dodging. I'm engaging you.
Yeah.
You are pressing tenuous grounds, so if you want to continue there or you want to do some more ground covering, let's go there.
Can we talk about National Assembly politics in 1 minute? Because there are very important issues in relation to your ministry.
I have no opinion about I will keep my opinions about National Assembly politics to myself. Let the party decide what it wants to do. But the only point I want to make is that people have assumed that we are the opposition party, and they have started zoning out offices. That because one person is this and that. We are not the opposition party. Our constitution, the last time I checked, has no zoning of offices. So that said, what should guide our party is the provisions of the Nigerian constitution about representation and equity. And that is all I am going to say about that.
So you don't think that zoning should be paramount?
No, I'm telling you what, I'm not rendering an opinion about zoning. I'm rendering the statement of fact that you see, you all say that sometimes, most of you say we are all the same. We are not the same with the opposition party. Our constitution is different in some instances. And indeed, our manifestos are different on certain issues. So we are not the same. So before you start importing their policies into our practices, let us get that right. But the Nigerian constitution speaks about the need for equity, fair representation of the Nigerian populace.
Let me get your views quickly on the Ministry of Works. You said that the Lagos-Ibadan expressway will be delivered between April and May.
The contractors are expected to finish on the 30th of April. So I repeat what I said. From the Lagos end to the Ibadan end, the only place where work will not be complete is after Ibadan going towards Oyo, because at kilometer 116, between kilometer 116 and 127, the Oyo state government is building some stormwater channels there, and we have decided to wait for them to finish their stormwater channel before we finish the road, instead of building it and then them having to cut it up. But from toll gate to toll gate should be ready, and
inward Lagos
both ways.
Because it's cost a lot of head.
Yes, this is the most difficult part. I was there, I think, about a week or 2 weeks ago. This is the most difficult part. We left it for the last. It's the most traffic part. It's the most built-up area. And so traffic challenges, over 40,000 vehicles per day driving through a construction site. That is not an easy undertaking. Right now, the contractor has mobilized, the last time I went, 110 different machines, equipment there, and 450 people in terms of manpower there. They're running, all stations are going now to see that they keep up with that date.
So April 30th, that's what we should be expecting.
Fingers crossed.
So let me go to the Federal Executive Council recently approved 6.3 billion for the maintenance of the Third Mainland Bridge.
Yeah.
How can you explain that cost?
Yeah, well, it's a good point you raise. The bridge is 11 kilometers, 11 point something kilometers. It has about, I think, 10 different interchanges that link it. All of those interchanges have the wearing surface, which is the pavement. The wearing course has eroded, so they have to be milled and relayed, new asphalt, on the entire length of the bridge and the interchange.
Will it look like you're reconstructing it?
Yes, you see, the bridge, every road really has what is called a wearing course, and it wears off over time, just like the heel of a shoe. That's why it's called a wear. As you use it, it wears off. That's the asphalt you drive on. But between that, there's a concrete base. So they are going to mill, and milling in street language is scraping that off and relay new asphalt on the road. We didn't do that at the time we closed the bridge, because the asphalt has not deteriorated to the stage where it is now at that time, first. And secondly, the work we undertook at that time was more structural work related to the structural integrity and safety of the bridge, to prevent or avert any structural failure or collapse. That was work of underwater piles, which is still not completed. So you see, you can't see that. It's going on.
Yeah.
So,
but is the integrity of the bridge intact?
If I may, the integrity of the bridge is intact. So, of the underwater piles, then the concrete casing that you see at the bottom of the bridge, those are the pile caps. Some vessels have knocked into it, and so all of those have to be cleaned up. They have to be put into proper shape, and then the piers too have suffered. Those are the concrete things that goes to the top, have suffered some deterioration. They have to be jacketed. That's the word that is used. New coat of cement, and they put epoxy to strengthen and protect it, and also reinforcement that has become exposed to the elements. That is the iron rod, has to be cleaned up, repaired, sprayed, and protected. Then what we did also was to change bearings. There are bearings under the bridge that allow it to move in a controlled manner. Once those bearings are broken, then there's a danger that the deck can slide off. So those bearings were changed. Then there's also the expansion joints that allows for movement between, because bridge is not built in one long cast. It's built in segments like this. So, and they're allowed to move and settle. Those expansion joints are deteriorating material.
When was the last time this kind of maintenance was conducted?
There was one that was conducted when I was governor, but they didn't budget to do the whole thing.
So, but
So
this
it
is
is
going to
the
take
outstanding
the entire
part.
bridge.
It is the outstanding part now that we did when we closed it off. Now, what we are doing is aesthetic work and drive free. And also some of the railings that have been damaged, that have been cut, that have been stolen, all of those are part of the work that will be replaced now.
I'm being told I have about 60 seconds to go, and I have a few concerns because 2 years ago, the Minister of Finance said it will cost about 4 billion to do the same work. Now it's over 6 billion.
Minister of Finance?
Yes.
Well, I can't recall
At
that.
the time, she was saying it will cost about 50-something billion to do several BGs
but
and
even
maintenance.
if she said so, maybe she was just speaking figuratively, because these costs are the costs certified by the Bureau of Public Procurement. And those are the statutory advisors of government on costs. So once the BPP speaks on costs, that's the end of the matter.
So when are you beginning the maintenance?
We just passed it last week, I think. We will adopt the minutes at this week's meeting. Then the process moves to the issuance of extracts from the minutes, which the PAMSEC will then use to issue an award letter. These are all the procurement processes. It takes time.
So because a lot of people are worried about the man hours.
They shouldn't be worried.
And why is this coming at the rainy season?
They shouldn't be worried. We will do our best to minimize the impact. Many people have complained about their driving experiences. This is government responding to your concerns, and we will do our best to minimize the impact on commuters.
Perhaps look at the New York scenario. Maybe you can do it at night or...
Everything is possible. We will take everything on board.
Weekends.
We will work with Lagos State government. As I said when we briefed the press after council, if there is any need for closure, it won't be for any long period. At the extreme, it will be weekends. But hey, by the time the process kicks off, I should be out of office, so it will be somebody else's responsibility.
All right.
But we have a good team in the ministry, the directors and all the staff, and they know what to do.
If there is one word that you have to say about Bola Tinubu tonight and the expectations for his government in setting agenda for him, what would that be?
I won't set agenda for him. I will just ask people to go and read his manifesto, and I would also ask that the citizens hold their governors in readiness to work with the federal government, because building Nigeria is not the responsibility of a president alone. It is the responsibility of the president, the 36 governors, the FCT ministers, and the 774 local governments. They all have different constitutional responsibilities that impact Nigerians at different levels. So there are some things the president cannot do. Primary school, primary health care, water supply in your homes, sanitation in your states. Those are not federal responsibilities.
So you trust Bola Tinubu? You trust Bola Tinubu to make Nigerians happy?
I believe that he will pick a good team, and working with the state governors and the local governments, I believe that the possibility of renewed hope is real.
Thank you so much. Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, the Minister for Works and Housing, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And I forgot to say, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
So guys, you can see that the obedience are really giving our politicians tough time. I mean, the obedience are giving politicians, hard times in Nigeria, because, they are out for them. They are out for them. The people just want a new Nigeria. We don't want all these distractions, from our politicians. We want a new Nigeria. We want a new Nigeria. So guys, you've heard it for yourself. He was asked about the whereabouts of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and you heard his response. Most of them don't even know where their presidential candidate or the president-elect is. They don't even know his whereabouts. You can see how he was, missing words. They don't know where he is. Honestly, that's the kind of country we have, Nigeria. Strange things happen in this country. That is where we are. Somebody was declared the president-elect, and all of a sudden he just disappeared. You can see the people working very close with him do not even know where he is, and that's not supposed to be. Honestly, that's not supposed to be. We have to start building a new country called Nigeria. We really have to build a new Nigeria. So guys, you've heard it for yourself, and no doubt you enjoyed this session, because there were so many funny things to talk about in this video. And shockingly, you know, he reacted to the way that they lost Lagos State. It was a hit on them, despite the fact that they didn't even give us all the votes that were allocated to Mr. Peter Obi. They shortened Peter Obi's vote, but you see, the shock is still in their bone because Labour Party shook Lagos. Honestly, the APC has not recovered from the loss that, you know, they lost in Lagos State, honestly. And that is how Nigerians will keep taking back their country. It's a journey that we have embarked on. Honestly, we are not giving up anytime soon. A new Nigeria is possible, and we all know that a new Nigeria is possible. So guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.